Hey everyone, it's Wahome from Wahome Gitonga Coaching. Hope you all have an amazing Wednesday and you're staying motivated, safe, and productive. Welcome back to another episode of Business Conversations where we interview the most successful people from across various industries, from business owners to entrepreneurs to designers to coaches to successful authors and various other people. So today we're delighted to have Michele Sims, who's an award-winning interior designer and architecture, and she's going to be sharing her journey of how she became a successful coach. So without further ado, let me just welcome Michele. Hi, Michele.
Hi.
Hi. After a few technical issues, we're ready to start. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
Perfect. Okay. So we'll dive into the first question. So the first question is, tell us about your background and what got you into business.
Oh gosh, I'm about 18 years in interior design. I just wanted to do interior design. I'm kind of a mix between an interior designer and an architect, which is a little unusual. I'm not quite the fluffy that
Mm.
most people think about interior designers. And I've been self-employed for about 8 years now. I got into I decided to kind of make a business, create a business about 2 years ago, I guess, purely because as self-employed, even though I had my own projects, to kind of do something on a bit more of a commercial scale, I needed to be more of a business. So that's kind of why I've gone into it, really. So I've got two. One which is called Revive Design Studio, which
Mm.
is more on the domestic side of the work and domestic developments. And conscious design is much more commercial, leisure, retail, exhibitions, that kind of thing.
Mm.
Yeah.
So what's your idea behind your business?
What it is to try and create healthy environments, but that not only people want to return to and enjoy, whether it be bars, restaurants, cafes, but it's also to sort of cater for anyone who suffers with anxiety, PTSD, autism. So it's a lot of the stuff that I put in design is about acoustics, lighting. It's all accommodating to have a healthy building, and eventually to look to take those developments off
Mm.
grid. So considering the environment. So it's all about what you put in and what you take out.
Mm. And so in terms of your brand and vision, what do you think sets you apart from your competitors?
I guess my education helps that because I slipped between an interior designer as an architect. So I did a three-dimensional design degree and a diploma in architecture and an MA in listed buildings. So I kind of look at how you renovate and rehabilitate rather than everything's brand new.
Mm.
So that's kind of where it's different. But one of the things that's part of the design is about human dynamics, how people use space, how they interact with it, and how they feel in the space. So that's kind of where the difference comes compared to, I guess, perhaps some studios who are
Mm.
more about creating an idea of a brand and developing that. Whereas I develop the brand with the client and go from there.
Mm.
Does
So
that make sense?
it sounds as if you put your clients' needs at the center.
Yeah,
Focus.
absolutely. I mean, I don't kind of I don't have a house style like some businesses because each client is very different and each client has a different sort of idea and criteria and perhaps what they think they want is not actually what they need. So then I take a sort of step back and look at how their demographic is, how it works, what kind of people they've got coming to their places, and what kind of people they want to attract.
Mm. So what do you wish you'd have known when you first started out that you know now?
Oh God, don't do everything. Don't do everything. Build a team. Yeah. I mean, this is one of the things, and the focus. Really have a focus and a process. The process is one of the things that a lot of people sort of bypass. They like, oh, think, oh, I've got to have a brand. I've got to have a brand. It's your brand develops over time because you start with an idea of what you want to do and where you want to go with people and how you want to develop and help their projects, right? And then your brand develops as part of that. Because I don't have a house style, so that doesn't. My brand is more about understanding people and
Mm.
understanding how an environment can be improved and how they can keep clients, how they can have return clients because they've enjoyed the experience.
Mm.
I hope that kind of explains it.
Yeah, so I think obviously what I got there from there is the importance of, because a lot of business when they start off they try and take on everything themselves and they get
Oh yeah,
overwhelmed and they end up feeling that they can't do this anymore. So how have you
yeah,
managed to like,
absolutely.
create a team for yourself in order to?
Absolutely. The thing is that as a designer, you always want to do everything, right? Because you just kind of feel that's what you need to do. But I crowdsource. I've always did that. I did that as a self-employed. I crowdsource with other people, and I'll get them to do specialist parts of the design, and then I understand how I can lead it and how I can push it forward. I'm still working on building my team, I must admit, because I still do parts. I still do quite a lot myself. But there's definitely scope to include that at the beginning, and you really should, because there's lots of things you don't need to do, but you think you do, and you don't at all. And other people are specialized in them. So why are you doing it?
Hmm. So what was the biggest challenge you faced when you first started out? How did you manage to overcome it?
But finding clients that I wanted to work with, this was difficult because a lot of clients don't see the worth in using an interior designer, like they do perhaps with an architect. So they can almost kind of skip it perhaps sometimes and will use a builder or a main contractor or something. And then what happens is they might change the colors, might change the furniture, but they don't change the essence of the building. So they don't understand how the building works space wise and how it's used. So getting that kind of client that understood that is always tricky. But you know, you just have to give it a go and see where you go with it. And luckily enough, I've been quite blessed.
Hmm. So how's your business grown over the past few months?
Ooh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, it has grown, to be fair. I had quite a few projects come on board just before Christmas. Obviously due to COVID, one or two of them have been put on the back burner. Um, developed to a certain point, but I kind of stopped and had a rethink of how I can now still continue to do my work, but without intruding on people's lives, really. I mean, at the moment, I'm in the middle of refurbishing a pub. Maybe some people have seen the photographs on Instagram. Yeah, I muck in and help out because it's a little bit difficult getting builders at the moment or specialists that can deal with the kind of property that I'm working on at the moment.
Hmm. Well, what is it that motivates you and drives you going forward?
Oh, seeing the client happy at the end. That's always great. You know, oh God, they hate it halfway through because it's always so dusty and horrid, and they just want done. But at the end, when they see the customers are happy and they enjoy it, the space, yeah, you know that you can't change that. And you know, it does what I'm hoping to do with the whole kind of taking people off grid and that element of things is that it helps in the more general sense, not just with the one development. So it can look to actually link developments together as well. So
Hmm.
yeah, just the client's faces is great.
Huh. I mean, it's a good thing because obviously you're motivated by your client success. I think obviously a lot of businesses need to be focused on making sure that the client's success will have a
Yeah,
good service rather than just getting the job done.
Absolutely. And the thing is actually managing the process is one of the biggest things that I've got better at. I understand the process, I understand how design works, and I understand all of that, right? But the thing is, I've been doing it so long, I actually jump the process. And I recognize that when I kind of decided to set this as a business, I kind of recognize that I have my own speak like doctors do. So I have my own speech completely. So I'll go and say something and then you get this shock. What are you talking about? So I've learned to go from stages 1 to 5 instead of 5 and 10, and just take the people through the process and make them aware that, look, this can't happen or that can't happen. It's just not possible. If you want it tomorrow, it's not going to turn up. So being realistic about timeframes is a big thing, to be fair. Construction, everybody assumes you're always going to be late. And when you're working with renovations, you come across things that you don't expect. So you have to manage the client's expectations at various points of the job. And when you do that, you're nurturing and helping them to enjoy the experience too, because you don't want it to be pain. This is the biggest thing, that you just want it to be a good experience for them too.
So I know you've alluded to this a bit before, but what is the key for you in terms of building a strong relationship with your clients?
I'm quite intuitive. I do things very differently to what perhaps you'd expect. I guess you'd probably expect, to take colours and that kind of thing. That I don't. I actually understand what the client likes themselves first, and then try and match that to the demographic of the client that they've got coming to the place, whether it be a cafe, a restaurant, a bar, a museum, whatever it might be. And I try to marry new clients into what they've already got. So perhaps a niche that they don't already sort of aim at, or they don't already have in their sort of client base, their customer base. And that's where I kind of nurture that idea. And I tend to push people completely out of their comfort zone. They don't like it at first, but eventually eventually they are kind of, oh, I like that now, or, no, that's definitely not something that would work in a restaurant or cafe or, that kind of thing. But I do push, and I tell them that I'm going to push them out of their comfort zone. So I always forewarn them, and I do it from the start. And then that helps to produce a better project in the end. Yeah.
I like that, yeah. So what advice would you give to someone who's looking to create a business, but they are procrastinating and not taking any action?
Okay, this is always a tricky one. Right, I think the thing is the reason you're procrastinating, you've got one of two things. Either you don't really want to do it, and you're just telling yourself you want a business, or you want to do it and you just don't believe you can do it. The reason you don't believe it is because perhaps, you think you've not had enough experience, or you've just not done enough. Just give it a go. If you don't give it a go, you're never going to know if you're going to be any good. And at some point you might fail, but at least you've tried. And that's kind of like where I would say, I didn't have, before sort of joining BBE, I didn't even have my website. I didn't have any presence whatsoever on the internet at all. I was like, oh, everything has to keep it secret. No, don't put anything out there. It's insane, right? It's insane, because if you don't put a presence, you don't start, you're never going to get anywhere. Just give it a go. And the only thing that you're going to do is maybe fail, but how badly can you fail?
Yeah, I think that's true. I think like a lot of people want it to be perfect before they put anything out there, rather than just putting it out there, because that's the only way you're going to learn.
Yeah, there's lots and lots of companies who've gone out there and started something. And we've all bought it, right? We've all gone and bought something on Amazon, or we bought something from TV late at night, It's arrived and you've gone, what is that? But somebody started that company and you bought it, right? Along with a lot of other people. It might not be the most perfect thing in the world, but you've bought it, you've done something. But if you didn't start that company, then nobody would have bought it. And that's kind of like that's where procrastination comes from. It's like a lack of self-belief, but it's also perhaps the fear comes from losing your daytime job. This is the thing. And I've been doing self-employment for a long time now. And not everyone is suitable to it. Okay. Not everyone suits it, but if you manage in your mind that life is going to be very different in that it's going to have ups and downs, but you are in control of what you do and how you do it. And if you want that freedom from a boss every day, from the office every day, then you should give it a go.
So what do you think is the most common reason why most people fail or give up?
They don't stay at it long enough because they hit a wall and they hit a no. But sometimes a no is good because I've walked away from projects and people have gone, why did you do that? And I said, well, because it's just, there was something it didn't fit. Something wasn't quite right. I'm not for everyone. I can be quite strong in saying, no, that's not the right color. That's a really bad idea. And, the client might go, oh, but no, that's the best idea since sliced bread. And I'm not for everyone. But the thing is if you don't persist and you don't really want it, then you won't achieve it. So you've got to have, even when you're having a bad day and you've not been able to see, get a client, or you just got to kind of persist. And sometimes you have got to also perhaps not get the exact fee you want to get. You might do something for a different reason. Like I've done some projects whereby I didn't do it for the best amount of money, but the actual project itself brought a lot of prestige with it. So that's where the bonus has been for me, because it's been a great final project. It's brought me a lot of maybe some other projects as well. But I can easily manage it whilst I'm doing other things. I think if you stick with a system, and also don't be afraid of switching. If there's something that's not working for you, then sit down, write a list and look at it and go, do I really want to do this? If I really want to do this, then go ahead, change the way, maybe change a few things so that you can get a better client and gradually climb up the ladder to get better and better and better quality clients. And if it's not working for you, change it. You've got to be flexible.
Yeah, I think it's important to have that passion for the work you're doing, from what I'm hearing you're saying. Because it's easy if you don't have the passion, when you do hit a hurdle, you end up giving up.
Yeah, so easily. I mean, you can get so disheartened because, people who do 9 to 5 you'll get various people who will envy you and you'll get bad sort of vibes from different people, and they might go, oh, what are you doing that for? Why don't you just go and get a job? When they think, when you're struggling to find new clients and build the business. But the thing is whether or not it's your why you want to do it. And if you don't have a good enough reason as to why you want to do it, then why are you doing it? You should, if you've got a reason why you're doing it, because you want the freedom from your work, you want the freedom to be able to do what you want when you want to do it, and you can build a business around that. At the end of the day, it's your life. Don't take notice of the other people that are kind of telling you shouldn't, because that's what you want to do. That's the focus that you need to have, really.
totally agree with you there. So we can't not talk about COVID-19 because it's affected various industries and it's caused
Mm.
people to go out of business, people to have financial issues. Like I was often seeing now, like a lot of businesses are having to change strategy in terms of the service they provide and how they communicate to their clients. How has COVID-19 changed your business and how have you had to adapt to it?
Okay, well, because I'm in the middle of a project, I haven't had the same lockdown as everybody else. I mean, I'm locked down in the sense that I'm refurbishing a pub and we're staying above.
Mm,
So, we're not flouting any laws, and it has been difficult getting supplies and that kind of thing. As far as the business is concerned, it's going to be a challenge, obviously, but I've restructured and thought of an alternative way that I can bring what I do to the clients so that they can refurbish whilst they're closed. So whilst all the restaurants and bars are closed, and then I can offer them also a social media aspect out of it afterwards to help them get back into trading um, and sort of back to normality for them really, and to look at how they can do it differently. Because there's going to be a lot of businesses which won't come back, but that doesn't mean to say that they can't change and be something different.
mm.
So yeah, it's a lot of people think it's pretty scary, COVID, as far as business is concerned. But I think you just got to look at what you do, step back from it, and think, how can I do this differently? And I teach as well, so I that's one of the things that I've done is actually create the course that I wanted to, and that can now go out in the next. When I stop this project, I can finally get that out. So I'm kind of looking forward to a little bit of time, like everybody else is getting. I know everybody's like screaming at me right now and going, "What?" But yeah. So I think use your time wisely, do as much as you can to build a business, step back from it, see how you can look at it differently. And if there isn't anything you can do, if you really think there's no way out from that particular business, then you've already built one business, so go ahead and do something else.
So have you noticed the need to increase your communication during this time?
Need to, sorry?
Increase your communication.
Uh, yeah, yeah. People are very, people actually don't listen when you're talking to them because there's lots of other things going on in the mind. There's lots of other things that they've, perhaps they've got children at home, perhaps they've got, other thing, family to look after.
Mm.
So you just need to be very succinct with what message you put out. And, you need to give people value. This is the thing. I mean, my inbox has been filled with lots of things, lots of offers. And what I've done is I've noticed what I click on and what I like. Then I've kind of replicated that and thought, right, that's the kind of thing that I need to put out there. That's how I get people to engage in what I do.
Mm. So during this coronavirus lockdown, many people have lost motivation. Some people feel unproductive. What's the secret to you to staying motivated during hard times?
Well, I guess the fact that I've got a bar to finish, that's helping me. In fairness, the painting and the sanding and the awful nails and the, anything and everything, upholstery and all that business, that's kind of motivating me. But also the fact that I think that there is scope in this. Look, there are a lot of people who are sick, and there's no denying that. And there's a lot, obviously, people at home, but people are still busy at home, right? Now, I think the motivation comes from the fact that I do work from home anyway, so I don't really have the issue of being in my own space. But what actually gives me that motivation to carry on and keep going and thinking that there's light at the end of the tunnel and we will return to business is the fact that I think it will. I believe that things will turn around And I do actually think that it'll turn it in the favour if you build small businesses. I think it's the last of the large businesses. I think there's a lot more scope for people who are smaller and want to grow. And that's kind of where the motivation comes from for me, because that's what I can feel in my industry. And obviously, if you're in a different business and you're kind of doing something slightly different, then that's kind of what you've got to do. Look at what you think the benefits are of you staying in that business and how you can niche yourself in the business. You might specialize in something. You know, just because there's a situation whereby you've been taken out of your office and put into your home, that shouldn't demotivate you from your business. And it might be a little bit more difficult with contacting people and getting people to say yes and getting them to agree to contracts. But focus on what they need. You know, what they're asking you to give them. You know, don't be realistic about what you offer them. And then you've got to weigh in. You know, it might be a smaller project, it might be something smaller than you think, but you can build the relationship and build the project. Or, you know, whatever it might be, really.
I totally agree with that. So what's been the biggest failure that you've experienced in the last year or when you started, and why do you think it happened?
Not acting quick enough. I have back end of last year, I had a client who wanted 8 or 10 projects looking at. And in fact, it was a failure, but it turned out to be a good one, because I didn't act quick enough. Then when I did act, it wasn't, I was too highly priced, he said, for him and that kind of thing. But the reality of it is that he was the wrong kind of client for me anyway. So my reticence and slowness of actually getting that proposal out there and done and that kind of thing actually helped me in the end, but it was one of my biggest failures. It was getting the proposals out there quick and being accurate with them. Now I've changed that, the way I do that. Now I actually do a pre-qualifier for most of my clients, because I was taking a lot of proposals, making a lot of proposals for different people and working like crazy, and actually nothing was changing. So I'd gone from self-employed to a business and nothing was changing. In fact, I was working more. So this is why I kind of went, right, I've got to change this. And that particular client was the pinnacle, really, because he sorry, someone trying to phone me there.
Okay.
So yeah, no, that's kind of really where it failed, and just reassessed and changed the way I now do the proposals to make it a bit quicker.
And what do you think has been the biggest challenge now going forward facing your industry?
I guess obviously with conscious design, it's a bit more the fact that pubs are closed and people don't want to spend money. This is the biggest thing. So I've actually looked into how that can be achieved, whereby it won't cost them money now, or in the future they can get money back for it. So I'm looking at different ways so that I can bring a different service to the clients that I didn't necessarily have before. Does that make sense?
Yes, you're looking at improving your services.
Yeah, because the thing is obviously the last thing that people want to do at the moment is pay out more money, and my job involves that. You know, it means whatever you've got in existence, we're going to destroy it and start new. But to try and convince people to do that, I've looked at how you can fund it. So they can fund it without having to lay out a whole load of money now. That means that when they get a chance to reopen, they're reopening as a new brand, a new style, something completely different. And that also gives them a different clientele basis. But also not just kind of go, here we go, we refurbish the place and off we go. It's about supporting them afterwards so that when they do open, so there's a big launch when they open, and also following up with social media for them afterwards and going forward. That also allows them then in the future to not have to rely on electricity from the grid because they can be self-sufficient. The whole sort of development of their own food, that kind of thing. So,
we're losing you again, Michelle. You broke up there.
oh, sorry. My signal is the worst. I am literally in a tiny little village near Durham. So, yeah, no, it's just expanding services, really, and making people trust you as a brand and as a company.
So what resources have really helped you along your journey?
Resources. As I say, I actually crowdsource. So some of the things that I use, like I use something like People Per Hour, so that's for staff. It's one of the resources I use. Instagram, I love. Pinterest is one of my favorites because obviously I've always used that. But Facebook has been a bit of a shocker, to be fair. I'm surprised at how many people are interested, and it's been quite fun. I'm always a bit like, oh, do I press the button? Shall I send it? Shall I post it? Just do it. I do it, and then I'm surprised.
What's really helped you in hard times to stay motivated and focused?
Oh, okay. I have a little bit of a thing, and some people who know me will know this about me. When I'm having a bad time, I actually think of it as a bit of a dark cloud. So in my mind, I think it's a cloud and it'll pass. And that's kind of like where I think about it. And I just switch what I'm doing. If I'm finding myself getting a bit of a grind, get up, go for a walk, go for a cup of coffee, do something different, just switch your mind up. Because at the end of the day, you're responsible for you, and you can control your thoughts and what you're thinking. That's what you're in control of. So if you're feeling a bit down, just do something that you really like, and that's what gets me out of my little bad days. I say, just as long as I can go outside and perhaps take a walk or go and have a coffee with a friend. Yeah, it's quite simple, really. Nothing too crazy, but I just think that I think it's going to pass.
So, we know what you're good at. What's one personal thing you're not good at?
One? I'm sure there's more than one. My timing. Yeah. I always assume it's going to take me 2 hours to do, and it doesn't. It takes me longer. And I think that's quite common for a lot of people, to be fair, especially in design, because everything's so fast paced. Yeah, that's sometimes the timing.
So there's 2 questions in one. The first part is, what next for you? And the second part is, how can people work with you and reach out to you?
What next for me? Well, hopefully a little bit in lockdown like everybody else, where I can actually revise my websites and launch the course. To launch this new idea of how I can work with people whilst still being remote. Yeah, that's kind of like where I'm going to go next once this is complete. So fingers crossed, it's done in about 7 to 10 days, the project I'm on now. And then I'll be able to sort of publicize it and stuff. And as working with me, I'm always open to people approaching me to work with. I love working with people, and this is one of the things that a lot of people think, oh, you go into business, you go on your own. I don't. I actually like bringing ideas from other people too. So yeah, my page is somewhere around. Just click and say hello.
What's the website, or people can reach out?
Yeah. It's quite well. As I say, there's two businesses. One is Revive Design Studio, and the other one is Conscious Design. There's a reason why it's spelled the way it is. It's the phonetical spelling of conscious. The reason I did that is because I'm dyslexic, and I just kind of thought this is one of the things I want as a business is to make people stop and think. So a couple of people went, why have you spelt it like that? And I said, it's the phonetical spelling of conscious, which makes you stop and think. And that's exactly what the business is all about, to make people stop and think what they do.
And so, what's one final piece of advice you'd give to people who are looking to start a business?
Do a bit of research, okay? Understand what it is you really want to do, and have passion about it. If you don't have passion, you won't survive, because it will be tricky.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. I think my final saying will be is to ensure that you surround yourself with the right people that will support you and motivate you and help you to grow. And also look to getting a coach or some kind of mentor that will show you the pitfalls so you don't make the same mistakes.
Oh, massively. I mean, one of the things that I did at the beginning was I went to various sort of, you do various free shows and all the rest of it, go and look at different ways and styles of how business is done. Because originally I was supposed to be in partnership with somebody, and that worked out wonderfully. So that's kind of how I ended up. Right, I need to learn media. I need to learn social media, and then ended up actually finding businesses, other entrepreneurs and other businesses and the business group. So. And that's been a massive help, learning from other people like yourself, as well as your mentors with DBE. I mean, you can't go wrong when you've got somebody else who's helping you sort of along the way, and they've been through the process. It's just the best thing you can do, really. I would suggest that's the one thing you don't do is don't do it on your own, because it's not easy to build a business, but there's plenty of people out there who can help you. And they give you the guidance that you can't see, because sometimes you can't see through the wood for the trees, right? And then you just need the other person to look at it in a different way, different light, and go, just do this, just do it. And then you go, oh yes, I can. And it's done.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. So it's been a pleasure to have you on here, Michele.
Oh, thank you.
And we wish you the best of luck in all your endeavours going forward. And we look forward to your growth over the next year.
Thank you.
To everyone else watching this, we hope you have an amazing week and that you've really found some useful, if you really found this useful and got some good information from the wisdom that Michele shared. And there will be more business conversations and interviews coming up soon. Otherwise, Michele, wish you an amazing day.
Thanks.
And everyone else, we'll see you all soon.
And you too. Thanks so much. Bye.
Bye, Michele.